This is kind of more of an advanced concept to implement if you are a serious competitor or athlete. However, I think it's beneficial too just to inform people of all ranges of their lifting career because it's cool and I don't think people talk about it enough. I'm going to kind of explain just how the menstrual cycle works, just not like, oh my god, science. I'm not gonna ramble about science for like 80 years, but I'm just gonna give you like a brief overview of what I'm trying to explain. So the menstrual cycle is in 3 phases: the follicular, the luteal, and the ovulatory. So starting with the follicular phase, it is the week of your period and the week after your period. In this phase, you're the strongest, and so you could potentially, if you wanted to, structure your training around how your menstrual cycle is. What you could do would be, instead of your strength focused days in this week or two and then maybe your hypertrophy the next, you could do that. Or you could say, I train my normal way in this phase, and then once it comes time for my weaker phase, which I'll explain in a second, that would be when you could deload. In your strongest phase, I think it's best that we can push for your best lifts, or maybe if you need to test your 1RM, like make sure it's in this phase, like just little stuff, it might end up adding up. So you never know. So if the information's out there, like that's all I care about, because you can kind of take it and run and do whatever you want with it. When you are the weakest is actually the 2 weeks leading up to your period, mid to late luteal phase. And so you might notice that your cravings are crazy or your energy's a bit lower. I was inspired to make this video too because this week is my deload week. You can deload in your weakest phase and it might prove to be beneficial for you. I'll give you a little bit of background on deloads as well because I'm in my deload week right now. When I first started working with my coach, I had never deloaded before. And the point of a deload is to basically take a step back and let your body recover from all the progressive overload. People do it differently, but you want to basically lower the intensity of everything while keeping the exercises the same. Personally, when I started working with my coach, I did it every 4 weeks. So instead of doing 3 sets of everything, I would do 2, and then I was lowering my intensity, but I was also still training, so my body would adapt to it and know it's still getting the stimulus, but it's not being pushed. And so now I'll do up to 4 to 5 sets of my lifts, and I'll also just go back down to 2 sets of everything, and I will lower the RPE as well. For my compound lifts, I would do, instead of an 8 or 8.5, I'd go down to a 7 and still. And then on my accessory movements, instead of burning out or doing like a 9 RPE, I'd go down to an 8. This just gives your body enough time to recover, and it kind of just shoots it and sets it up for the next week ahead to make more progress instead of pushing, and then your body's kind of broken. You can only push so much. By giving it that week of like, look, I'm still training, but I'm not going as intense, so you can have the ability to recover. It's very important. So yeah, that's a little bit on deloading.